I don't know when it started, this feeling, this hunger. Maybe it was always there, waiting in the shadows of my mind, buried beneath the weight of what was acceptable and what wasn't. But now, it's crawling to the surface, raw and undeniable. Maybe it was the way Gerald, my stepfather, looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. A glance that lingered a second too long, as if he was studying me, memorizing something he shouldn't. Or maybe it was his voice. Low, smooth, thick like honey. It sank into my skin whenever he spoke my name, leaving a trail of heat I could still feel hours later. I should be ashamed of this. I should be disgusted. But I'm not. I tell myself it's nothing, that I'm imagining things, that the tension isn't real, that it's just in my head. But then I catch him watching me again, across the dinner table, in the hallway, reflected in the mirror when he passes by my room. And suddenly, I'm not so sure. I remember the first time I felt it, the shift in the air between us. It was late, past midnight. The house was quiet, my mother already asleep upstairs. I had been sitting in the dim glow of the living room lamp, flipping mindlessly through channels, when I heard the soft creak of the stairs. Gerald, dressed in nothing but loose sweatpants and a black t-shirt, his hair slightly disheveled from sleep. His presence filled the room, stealing the air from my lungs. "You're still awake." His voice was a rough whisper, thick from sleep. I shrugged. Couldn't sleep. He sighed, running a hand through his hair as he walked past me toward the kitchen. My eyes followed him before I could stop myself, watching the way his muscles flexed beneath his shirt, the way his fingers gripped the fridge door as he pulled it open. I swallowed hard and forced myself to look away. It wasn't normal to notice things like that. To wonder what his skin might feel like under my hands, what it would be like to hear him say my name in a different way. But my body didn't care about normal. He came back into the room, a glass of water in hand, and leaned against the doorway, studying me. There was something unreadable in his eyes. Something dangerous. "You sure you're okay?" he asked. I nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just thinking." His lips curled into something like a smirk. "About what?" I hesitated. He wouldn't expect the truth. Wouldn't expect me to say, "About you." About how wrong this is, how badly I want it anyway. Instead, I forced a weak chuckle. "Nothing important." He hummed in response, his gaze never leaving mine. The air felt thick, suffocating, like something unsaid was hanging between us, stretching and tightening, waiting to snap. Then he smiled just a little, and turned away. "Try to get some sleep, Daniel." And just like that he was gone. But I sat there long after he left, heart pounding, hands shaking. Because something had shifted. I could feel it. And I had a feeling Gerald could feel it, too. The house was quiet, too quiet. I wasn't sure why I was awake. Maybe it was the heat. Maybe it was the weight of thoughts I shouldn't be having. Maybe it was the fact that my body was growing restless, my mind unable to shake the tension I felt whenever he was near. I patted down the dark hallway, drawn by the faint glow of the kitchen light spilling into the corridor. And then I saw him. Gerald. He was leaning against the counter, his posture relaxed, one hand resting lightly on the edge of the counter, the other wrapped around a glass of whiskey. He wasn't wearing much, just gray sweatpants that hung low on his hips, and a loose tank top that did little to hide the broad stretch of his chest, the way his muscles flexed when he lifted the glass to his lips. I stopped in the doorway, but he didn't look at me right away. He took a slow sip, his throat moving as he swallowed, before finally flicking his gaze up to meet mine. Something sharp passed between us. A silent acknowledgement. "You're up late," he murmured, voice still thick from the alcohol, from the lateness of the hour. I cleared my throat. Couldn't sleep. He huffed a quiet laugh, his lips curving at the corner. His mouth. His lovely mouth. He tilted his head slightly, studying me in that way that made my skin prickle. "Too much on your mind?" I hesitated before nodding. "Yeah. Stress, I guess." Gerald's smirk deepened, but there was something in his eyes, something dark and knowing. "You need to relax, Daniel." A simple statement. Innocent words. But nothing about the way he said them felt innocent. I swallowed hard, shifting under his gaze. Yeah, maybe. His eyes trailed over me slowly, deliberately, and I suddenly felt exposed standing there in just my thin t-shirt and loose boxers. His gaze flicked to my neck, my shoulders, lower. I wasn't imagining it. I couldn't be. Then, just as quickly, he looked away and took another sip of his drink. I exhaled, only then realizing I had been holding my breath. What about you? I asked, my voice rougher than I intended. Why are you up? Gerald turned the glass in his hand, watching the liquid swirl. Couldn't sleep either. Stress. I asked, mirroring his words. His lips twitched. Something like that. We stood in silence, the air between us thick and heavy. I could hear the faint hum of the fridge, the distant tick of a clock in the living room. But none of it mattered. All I could focus on was the way Gerald was watching me now, his expression unreadable, but his eyes filled with something dangerous. I should have left. I should have said goodnight, turned around, and gone back to my room. But I didn't. Instead, I stepped further inside. I watched as Gerald's fingers tightened around his glass. Just slightly. And when I reached for the bottle of whiskey beside him, our hands almost touched. The flicker in his eyes, I saw it. He felt it too. I poured myself a drink, ignoring the way my hands weren't entirely steady, ignoring the heat crawling up my spine. When I raised the glass to my lips, Gerald's gaze followed the movement, lingering on my mouth. And suddenly, I wondered what it would be like if he tasted the whiskey on my tongue. He shifted slightly, his jaw clenching as if he were holding himself back from saying something or doing something. I licked my lips slowly, deliberately. His grip on the counter tightened. The tension crackled between us like static electricity, sharp and overwhelming. And then, as if sensing that the moment was spiraling into something neither of us could take back, Gerald took a step back. His voice was lower this time, rougher. You should get some sleep, Daniel. His tone should have felt dismissive, but it didn't. It felt like a warning, like a challenge. I held his gaze for a moment longer before setting my glass down on the counter beside his. I could still feel the weight of his stare as I turned to leave, but I knew, as surely as I knew my own name, that this wasn't over. Not even close. His touch lingers, fingers tracing slow, deliberate circles against my skin. I should pull away. I should say something. But I don't. The tension in my muscles melts beneath his hands, replaced by something else. Something warmer, deeper. You're holding so much here, he murmurs, voice low, almost intimate. His thumbs press into the knots at the base of my neck, but it's the way he says it, the way his lips nearly brush my ear, that sends a shiver down my spine. I exhale, half a sigh, half surrender. Yeah, I guess I am. His hands travel lower, fingertips teasing the edge of my collarbone. Let me help you, he whispers. And I do. I let him. This time, there's no hesitation. No second-guessing. My fingers tangle in his shirt, pulling him closer as his hands find my waist. His lips move against mine, slow at first, testing, teasing, before the hunger takes over. A quiet moan escapes me, swallowed instantly by the heat between us. I know I should stop. I know this is wrong. But the way he presses me against the wall, the way his breath comes in ragged gasps between kisses, makes it impossible to think about anything except the way he feels. The way I feel. Tell me to stop, he murmurs against my lips, his hands tightening on my hips. I should. I don't. Instead, I tilt my head back, granting him silent permission. His mouth moves to my jaw, then lower, tracing fire along my skin. My pulse pounds in my ears. Every nerve in my body is alive, electric, desperate for more. It's the first taste of sin, and it's intoxicating. After that, we try to avoid each other. I spend more time locked in my room, pretending the four walls can keep my thoughts in check. He stays out late, filling his nights with anything but me. But it doesn't matter. The tension builds. It lingers in the silence between us, thick and suffocating. Every glance is a spark. Every accidental brush of skin is a flicker of heat, burning just beneath the surface. Then one night it happens. I'm in the kitchen once again, reaching for a glass of water when I feel him behind me. Close. Too close. I don't turn around, but I don't move away either. The air between us is heavy, charged. You're avoiding me. His voice is low, rough. I grip the counter, my knuckles white. You're doing the same. A beat of silence. Then his fingers brush my waist, just barely. A warning. A temptation. I squeeze my eyes shut, willing myself to step away. But I don't. I can't do this, I whisper, but my body betrays me, leaning into his touch. Then stop me, he murmurs. I don't. Instead, I turn, and suddenly his hands are on me, gripping my hips, pulling me flush against him. His breath is hot against my jaw, his lips grazing my skin like a promise. We said we wouldn't, I start, but the words die the moment his mouth crashes against mine. It's not soft. It's not gentle. It's fire-consuming, desperate. I push back just as hard, my fingers tangling in his hair, my body arching against him like I've been starving for this. Maybe I have. He lifts me onto the counter, standing between my legs, his hands tracing fire down my sides. Tell me to stop, he breathes, his forehead pressed to mine. I should. I don't. Because this fire? It's the one we can't put out. We become reckless. It starts with stolen kisses in the hallway, hurried and desperate, our breaths mingling in the dim glow of the night. Then it's his hands on me in the dark, fingers pressing into my skin, mapping the parts of me no one else has touched. The spaces between us grow smaller, the boundaries blur, until there's nothing left but the fire we can't contain. Nights bleed into mornings. The world outside becomes a distant blur. I stop caring about right or wrong. All I care about is him. It's dangerous, the way we pretend no one else exists. The way he sneaks into my room after midnight, his body fitting against mine like he belongs there. How we lie tangled in the sheets, whispering secrets neither of us dares to say in the light of day. I can't stay away from you, he breathes one night, his fingers trailing over my chest, his lips brushing my shoulder. I've tried. I don't answer. Because I don't want him to try. I should be afraid. Afraid of what this means, of what happens if someone finds out. But when he pulls me closer, when his hands roam over my skin, when his mouth moves against mine like a silent confession, I don't care. We move in shadows, our love written in hushed gasps and fingertips pressing into flesh. We lock the doors, keep our voices low, pretend that as long as no one sees, it isn't real. But it is. And secrets like this? They never stay hidden forever. At first, I tell myself it's nothing. A coincidence. A trick of the mind. But the signs are everywhere. Doors left slightly open when I know I closed them. My mother's gaze lingering too long. Her eyes sharp and searching whenever I walk into the room. The way she pauses just outside my door, as if she's listening. It makes my skin crawl. I try to ignore it, try to act normal. But paranoia sinks its claws into me, twisting my stomach every time I hear footsteps in the hallway. Then one night I hear it. A creak. Soft. Careful. Right outside my door. I freeze, my heart slamming against my ribs. He's here, his arm draped lazily over my waist, his breath warm against my neck. Neither of us is wearing a shirt, our legs tangled under the sheets. If someone opens that door, there's no explaining this away. I hold my breath, listening. The sound doesn't come again, but I know what I heard. Someone knows. I don't sleep that night. Every shadow seems darker, every sound more sinister. If someone has seen us, if they've put the pieces together, it's only a matter of time before this whole thing explodes. And when it does, there will be nowhere to hide. However, jealousy is a strange thing. It sneaks up on you, coils around your ribs, and tightens before you even realize it's there. Seeing Gerald with someone else, even my mother, who is his wife, shouldn't bother me. It's harmless. A conversation at the dining table. A shared laugh over something trivial. But the way she touches his arm when she speaks, the way his lips curl into a polite smile, mine, a voice in my head hisses. By the time night falls, the frustration has twisted into something else. Something dark. Something desperate. When he steps into my room, I don't wait. I don't think. I push him against the door, my hands fisting in his shirt. My lips crash into his, hard, demanding. He grunts in surprise, but doesn't stop me. He never does. Rough tonight are we, he murmurs against my mouth, breathless. I don't answer. Instead, I bite. His sharp intake of breath fuels me. My teeth scrape against his jaw, down his neck, marking him, claiming him. He groans, gripping my hips, yanking me closer until there's nothing between us but heat and hunger. We don't take our time. There's no slow build-up, no whispered words. Just hands, mouths, desperation. A fever neither of us wants to break. When it's over, we lie tangled in the sheets, our breaths still uneven. My heart is still racing, my skin still burning where he touched me. Gerald strokes my cheek, his thumb dragging across my bottom lip, swollen from kisses. You have no idea what you do to me, he whispers. His voice is raw, possessive. I close my eyes, trying to ignore the way my heart clenches at the sound of it. Because I do know, and I'm terrified of what that means. Then the door swings open. A sharp gasp shatters the air, cutting through the heavy silence of the room like a blade. I freeze. Gerald stiffens beneath me, his body still flush against mine, our breaths still ragged from what we'd just done. My pulse pounds in my ears, loud, deafening. Then I see her. My mother. She stands frozen in the doorway, her eyes wide, unblinking. Her expression, horror, disbelief, something else I can't name, twists her face into something unrecognizable. I scramble away from Gerald, my limbs tangled in the sheets, panic surging through me like a tidal wave. But it's too late. Too late. She's seen everything. Her lips part, but no words come out. Her chest rises and falls in sharp, uneven breaths, her hands trembling at her sides. The weight of her gaze is unbearable, searing into my skin like acid. Mum, my voice cracks. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Gerald shifts beside me, his body tense, his jaw clenched so tightly I think his teeth might break. He opens his mouth, maybe to explain, maybe to beg, but there's no explanation that will make this right. No excuse that will erase what she's just witnessed. The silence stretches, heavy, suffocating. Then she takes a step back. And another. The betrayal in her eyes is worse than screaming, worse than fury. It's final. And then she turns and walks away. The sound of her footsteps echoing down the hall is the last thing I hear before my world tilts. And suddenly, the fire between us isn't the only thing burning. The silence is worse than the shame. Gerald won't look at me, won't touch me, won't speak to me. Days pass, and the weight of it presses down on my chest, suffocating, unbearable. He moves through the house like a ghost, his presence lingering but never truly there. He avoids my gaze at the dinner table, his chair angled just enough to keep his back to me. At night, I hear him pacing in the living room, restless, tormented. I want to reach for him, want to say something, anything, but every time I open my mouth, the words die in my throat. Then, finally, on the 5th day, he speaks. It was a mistake. I flinch, the words slicing through me. He's standing by the window, his hands gripping the edge of the sill, like it's the only thing keeping him upright. His knuckles are white, his shoulders tense. We should forget it ever happened, he continues, his voice low, hollow. I swallow against the lump in my throat. You don't mean that. He exhales sharply, shaking his head. I do. But his hands are trembling. His voice wavers. And I know he's lying. I step closer, but he pulls away, like my touch might set him on fire. His breath comes faster, uneven, and when he finally turns to me, his eyes are red-rimmed, exhausted. "I can't do this," he whispers. "Not after what she saw. Not after what this is." I hate the way my chest tightens, the way my body aches for him even as he puts more space between us. "We'll figure it out," I say, but even I don't believe it. He shakes his head. "No, we won't." Then he walks out of the room. And just like that, the distance between us becomes a chasm too wide to cross. I try to stay away. I really do. But no matter how many times Gerald pushes me away, no matter how much distance he puts between us, I still go to him. Because I can't stop. Because we can't stop. The night is thick with silence when I slip into his room. He's sitting on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands, shoulders hunched like the weight of everything is crushing him. He hears me before he sees me. His head snaps up, eyes dark with something I can't name. Something dangerous, something wanting. "Daniel," he warns. "Go back to your room." I don't listen. I never do. I can't. I step closer, and he stands abruptly, backing away like he's afraid of what will happen if I touch him. This needs to stop. His voice is tight, pained. But I can see it. The way his chest rises and falls too fast. The way his fingers twitch at his sides, like he's holding himself back. The way his eyes drop, just for a second, to my mouth. He's breaking. And I want to watch him shatter. I close the distance between us in a single step. "Tell me you don't want this." His throat bobs. His jaw clenches. "Tell me," I press. And then he snaps. His hands are on me before I can breathe, grabbing, pulling, crushing. His lips crash into mine, desperate, hungry, starved. I fist my hands in his shirt, dragging him closer, swallowing his groan as he backs me against the wall. "It was never just about the sex, Daniel," he breathes against my mouth. And I know. I've always known. Because for all the rules we've broken, for all the lines we've blurred, the biggest one is this. We fell in love. And love is the one sin we can't undo. Gerald rips himself away, breathing hard. His face twisted in anguish. "You are my stepson, Daniel," he says, voice raw. "I am married to your mom. We cannot continue this game." But we both know this stopped being a game a long time ago. And neither of us knows how to stop. The house feels different now. Heavier. As if the walls themselves carry the weight of what we've done. Mom barely speaks to me anymore. She moves through the house in silence, her eyes hollow, her expression unreadable. I don't know if it's grief, disgust, or something in between. Maybe all of it. Maybe none. And Gerald, he's slipping. The man I once knew, the one I fell for, is unraveling before my eyes. His hands shake when he lights a cigarette on the back porch. He barely eats. He spends more nights at work, or at least that's what he says. We don't touch. We don't speak. But we feel. And that's the problem. I find him in the kitchen late at night, staring out the window, his jaw tight. His back is to me, but he knows I'm there. "You should be asleep," he murmurs. "So should you." Silence. I step forward, slow, hesitant. "Gerald." He exhales sharply, but doesn't turn. "We can't keep living like this," I whisper. His fingers tighten around the counter. "Like what?" "Like we don't want each other." A bitter laugh escapes him. "Wanting isn't the problem, Daniel." He finally turns, and I see everything in his eyes, his torment, his guilt, his love. "This isn't just about us," he says, voice low and strained. "Your mother," he swallows. "We hurt her." I don't know what to say to that. Because it's true. Because the person who brought us together is the same person we destroyed. But then he cups my face, his fingers trembling as they trace my jaw. And when his lips brush mine, slow, lingering, aching, I know. There's only one answer. "I choose you." His breath hitches. "Daniel." I cut him off with another kiss, desperate and deep, pouring everything I have into him. I choose him. No matter what it costs. No matter what we lose. Because love, real love, the kind that devours and ruins and rebuilds, was never meant to be easy. It was meant to consume. And we let it. No more running. No more hiding. Just us. Always.